the mic.
Get on the mic.
Just get on the mic. Get on the mic, Mike.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Get on the Mic. That's where you put me in front of a microphone with a few notes and I talk about some of the more interesting things that have happened throughout the world of entertainment or whatever else I feel like talking about. Before I begin, I want to remind you all of my partnership with the DNA Digital Network. So now not only you'll be able to find this podcast on YouTube, but you'll also be able to find it on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and other places that podcasts are available. Now you can listen to this program on your favorite audio device. For more details, make sure to check out dnadigitalnetwork.com. Today on the program, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. First of all, there's a new casting possibility for the Joker. We've been talking about the Joker a lot lately. Something's come up that's quite interesting, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys think about it. Also, there's a lot of stories about A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place is a fantastic movie, and if you haven't seen it, go see it. But there's a lot going on, and a lot of stories have come out about it and things involved in it. First, A Quiet Place was possibly going to be part of the Cloverfield franchise. Also, is A Quiet Place 2 a possibility? Don't worry, I'm not really going to spoil anything for you, but there is stuff to talk about. Also, how the MCU would have prevented A Quiet Place from being made. Interesting. Also, we're going to be talking about DC because we're talking about Marvel. We might as well talk about DC too. I'm going to be talking about DC live action versus DC animated. The first thing I want to talk about is a new casting possibility for the Joker. You know, we've been talking for a few times the last few weeks about how Joaquin Phoenix is possibly up for the Joker, and they've interviewed him about it, and he talks about he's interested in characters and directors, not really so much will he do these types of movies, that types of movies, won't. But in an interview with Joe Blow, the possibility was brought of a new contender for the role of the Joker. Are you ready for this? Nicolas Cage was promoting his new movie, The Humanity Bureau, and was asked if there were any roles out there that he'd love to play or would be interested in. His response surprised even the reviewer. He said, quote, I think my comic book days are I'm on to other things, but I always thought I'd make a great Joker, and I always thought that I would have been a good villain in one of the Marvel movies like Doctor Doom. But Doctor Doom, you have to wear that mask, but I thought the story leading up to Doctor Doom could have been interesting. If at this point, if I was to go back into the format, it would probably have to be as a villain. The interviewer fanboyed out about this idea. He said about the possibility of him playing the Joker. And Cage then responded in a way that made me have to give it some thought, have to give the idea some thought. He said, quote, "It would be the perfect one for me to go even more off the rails than I've ever done before. And, it'd be fun." Do I think Cage would make a good Joker? I certainly think that he has the range. And I definitely think he has the crazy. Just look at a character like Castor Troy from Face Off, at least at the beginning where he has, he's got the Nicolas Cage face anyway. I could see him, I could see the facial expressions, I could see the crazy. But really it depends on what type of Joker we're getting. Are we getting an old school type Joker? Are we getting a more laid back Joker like a Jack Nicholson? We gonna get like in the comics? Are we gonna get like he's cut off his own face Joker? I mean, what Joker are we getting? That's the real question. I'm not sure which ones he would fit up with, or would he kind of come up with his own thing? I mean, as interested as I am to see more of Jared Leto play the Joker, I know he hasn't been that popular. I can't say I loved his performance, but I kind of wanted to see more. Because we didn't get enough in Suicide Squad, of course. So it just depends on what kind of Joker we're getting. I think given the right script, He definitely could have the body type. He could lose a lot of weight and be really lanky. I think, Cage is like 6 foot tall. So, I mean, the height, wouldn't be a factor, I don't think. He could be tall and lanky. And, I mean, he can do a smile. And, of course, you'd give him some prosthetics or something to kind of widen that up a little bit. I think he could pull it off. But, like I said, it depends on what kind of Joker they need. I'm not sure, I mean, think about it. If he's going to do this, say he did this origin movie that Joaquin Phoenix is up for. I mean, he would have to play the Joker, before he was the Joker too. And I mean, I think Cage has the range. I'm not saying I want to see it, but I'm saying I think he could do it. But then again, like I said, depends on the Joker. And of course, this isn't, as he mentioned, this isn't his first foray into comic book movies. I mean, he was supposed to be Superman for Tim Burton. And of course, that movie didn't happen. That being said, as we've mentioned on this program, we'll finally get to see Superman in the Teen Titans Go to the Movies movie. He had his 2 Ghost Rider movies. His best comic book movie, Kick-Ass, as Big Daddy. I mean, his Adam West-ish portrayal of Big Daddy was amazing. One of my favorite parts of that movie. And also, I would even count Astro Boy. He voiced a character in that. Astro Boy's a manga. So, Nicolas Cage is famous for, his love of comic books and all that stuff. So, I mean, if he were to get the Joker role, by chance, I think he would really put his everything into it. And it sounds like the fact that he's like, I could go even more off the rails than I've done before. A promise like that from Nick Cage is very interesting if you think about it. The next story I want to talk about is the possibility that A Quiet Place was going to be part of the Cloverfield franchise. In an interview, one of the creators of A Quiet Place, Scott Beck, said that they approached Paramount about possibly adding the story to its Cloverfield series. He said, quote, "That was one of those things that I guess it crossed our mind, and we had spoken to our representatives about the possibility. It was weird timing, though, because when we were writing the script, 10 Cloverfield Lane was at Paramount. We were actually talking to an executive there about this film, and it felt from pitch form that there might be a crossover, but when we finally took the final script to Paramount, they saw it as a totally different movie." He also said that in the end, the studio, quote, "never thought about branding it as a Cloverfield film." He then added, "Our dream was always to drop something different into the marketplace, so we feel grateful that Paramount embraced the movie as its own thing." Okay, should this movie have been in the Cloverfield franchise? I'll answer that simply. Hell no. This would have been a terrible idea. I know a lot of people like that first Cloverfield movie. I hated that movie. The original was boring to me, and a lot of times it annoyed me. And when it comes to the third one, I've pretty much all forgotten about Paradox. I mean, I do remember bits and pieces of it, but I remember thinking, wow, you're just trying to explain everything in one fell swoop, aren't you? The only Cloverfield movie that I really liked was 10 Cloverfield Lane, and really what worked with that movie was that you had, John Goodman putting on a fantastic performance, and he was creepy as hell. The claustrophobia of that movie really worked. It was this small movie that was a lot of unknown. It's like, is there really something out there? Is John Goodman crazy? Is there something out there? Is there not? There's all sorts of stuff going on in that one little space, and that's why that worked for me. And it's similar to why a movie like Split worked for me, other than the big secret at the end, of course. The movie was working for me before because it was very claustrophobic, and you felt trapped, and that's why 10 Cloverfield Lane worked. And they tried getting a little bit of that trapped feeling in the Paradox movie, but the movie itself was just kind of dumb. So, you know, I've only really liked one of the movies. I am looking forward to God Particle because it's going back to, can't remember if it's World War I or World War II. So I'm interested, but then again, now it's just like, well, this one thing happened in part 3, so I guess things all throughout history can happen, and it gives them an unlimited supply of, we can just throw a story here and make it happen. And if they would have made A Quiet Place one of these, I think Quiet Place still would have been a good movie, but then it would have to have that aha moment. It's in Cloverfield, right? And I just think that would have been dumb. A Quiet Place is too damn good of a movie to be a Cloverfield film. It's its own thing. It needs to stay its own thing. And it's better because of it. It created its own creatures. We don't have to think about, well, part 3 made this happen. You know, none of that bull crap. They've got their own creatures, their own characters. You know, the story's creepy. It's a very well done movie. And I'm not going to give a whole review here because I've done it already on my YouTube channel. So if you want to hear my thoughts on A Quiet Place, make sure to look up the segment I dubbed Talkin' Movies on the Reel Geno YouTube channel. I give all my thoughts spoiler free, or mainly spoiler free. I didn't give away any big stuff, but I had to talk about a little because if you can't talk about a little, well, you can't exactly have a review, can you? But if you want to see that, find Talkin' Movies on the Reel Geno YouTube channel. The next story I want to talk about, another Quiet Place story. Is A Quiet Place 2 a possibility? And like I said, I'm not going to spoil how A Quiet Place ends, but I will say this. You could make a sequel because it's a big world, okay? You know, A Quiet Place only takes place over... It starts at 80 some days, then it goes to 400 and some days, then another section of 400 and some days. It doesn't cover a lot of time, year and a quarter, year and a half, around there somewhere. So it's not a lot of time, and it only focuses on one family. So there's a lot going on in the world. So yes, you could tell a sequel if you really wanted to. But what do the filmmakers or the screenwriters think of the possibility of a sequel? Well, at a press conference for the movie, screenwriters Brian Woods and Scott Beck talked about the possibility of a sequel. Woods said this, quote, "It's such a fun world. There are so many things you could do," end quote. Beck added that they have plenty of ideas that they could draw from. He said, quote, "There are so many discarded set pieces too, just hiding out on Word documents on our computer. So yeah, there are certainly so many stories you could tell. It's just really, at the end of the day, who are the characters in this and what does the situation mean to that dynamic?" Question number 1. Do I think they'll make a sequel? I think that Paramount will want to. The main reason, the money. There's money to be made. And the second part of that answer is the possibility that the screenwriters have some great ideas. You like to think they do, and again, I can't really go too much into it because I would be spoiling the movie for you, and so far it's one of my favorite movies this year, and I don't want to do that. So, yeah, Paramount will definitely want to make it because, I mean, it's a surprise hit, even though the trailers looked really good. I mean, there's good-looking trailers and crappy movies. The trailer fulfilled the promises it made and more. But question number 2, should they make a sequel? A big part of me wants to say no. But I do think that there are some stories that could be told. Maybe about another family, another group, or even a loner trying to survive this new horrible world. Also, no, the movie is almost too good. That's why I would say no, is because the movie is so good that I don't want to see them go to the well too many times with this plot. I don't really want I don't want a monster origin story. I mean, I have a feeling that, like a lot of movies where you don't get a lot of answers in the first one, you almost have to give some answers. I don't really care. You know? I like the creatures in this movie, and a lot of people are wondering, is there really, if they haven't seen a trailer or whatever, is there really creatures? Yeah, there's definitely creatures, and the movie establishes that real quick. And I mean real quick. But I don't care about where they came from. And that's why another reason why I'm glad it wasn't a Cloverfield movie. Because it'd be like, well, I know where they come from now. I don't care. The unknown is cool. You don't have to know everything. Right? It's okay if you've just got this horrible threat. There doesn't have to be a big corporation behind it. Saw Rampage this weekend. There just had to be a big corporation behind everything, right? Of course, in the games there were, but that's another argument and another story. But when it comes to these monsters and why they're here, I don't care. Not knowing to me is fine, and it's kind of cool. Now later, maybe after the movie's been out for a while, and everyone's had a chance to see it, I'll share some of my ideas of what a sequel to this movie could be, because then I could talk about things that happened in the first movie. But again, I don't want to ruin the movie for anybody. I need everybody to go see this movie, support this movie. So far, as of this taping, I saw Beirut, which was a good movie, but it isn't out everywhere. I saw Rampage, which is a bit of a letdown. It's not even that fun. And I saw Truth or Dare. And if you choose Truth or Dare over A Quiet Place, then we can't be friends. No, I'm kidding. I know people are going to go see Truth or Dare. I mean, they people want to be scared. People have fun being scared. But man, it is like apples and decaying oranges. Pristine apples and decaying crap-covered oranges if you're comparing A Quiet Place and Truth or Dare. So if you're going to go see a movie and you haven't seen A Quiet Place, it's better than everything I've seen that's come out this weekend. So definitely go see A Quiet Place. And hey, here we go. Next story. We're going to talk about A Quiet Place again, kinda. Okay. Do you know that the MCU could have prevented A Quiet Place from even being made? In an interview for A Quiet Place, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, they are married for those that don't know, talked about how both of them almost landed roles in the MCU. Blunt twice for the roles of Black Widow in Iron Man 2 and Peggy Carter for Captain America, and of course Krasinski almost became Captain America. When asked how their careers would have been different had they landed the roles, Krasinski said this, quote, "I think A Quiet Place definitely wouldn't exist. There are benefits, and Chris Evans seems to be having a wonderful time. I love Chris. I've been a friend of his for a while. Those movies are so much fun, and I love watching them. I tell him I'm first in line to see his new movies. It's that Zen thing of let life take you where it may, and I never would have been able to be here if I had gotten Captain America." Blunt echoed her husband's sentiment and added this, quote, "I don't think I would have been able to do a lot of projects I've loved doing. I think that was a nerve-wracking prospect for me to not be able to choose, and the choices I have are often all I have. So you can't really plan for anything else. You can't predict what's going to happen, what's going to catch fire and what's not. So if I make the choice for me and not because I'm contracted, I think that's an exciting prospect." In my opinion, the chips landed in the right places mostly. And what they're saying is, if they would have signed these contracts to be these characters, they were going to be making these movies for a long time. I mean, Chris Evans has come out and said things like, he wants to do his own thing. He's kind of tired of being Cap. Every now and then that comes out, but he's contracted to do them. So, so he does them. and I think a lot of the actors are looking forward to doing other things, because I mean they're having to sign on for 6, 7 movies, right? I mean the Marvel universe has been going for 10 years now, and they've made a big deal about that. So in my opinion, the chips landed in the right places for the most part. Look, Chris Evans is great as Cap. I'm not the biggest fan of Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, but I love Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter. Now, if Krasinski and Blunt were locked into contracts, we may have not have gotten one of the best movies of 2018 so far. And that saddens me. Now, I don't know if A Quiet Place may have had other actors in it or something, but it definitely wouldn't have been directed by John Krasinski. And both of them are fantastic in the freaking movie. So we wouldn't have gotten that because, they would have been making, this new Avengers movie right now that's coming out in a couple weeks. So here's the thing though. The story's not over, because lately, the past couple months that I've seen anyway, the fans are still clamoring for the couple to join the MCU. I mean, first of all, cries of make Emily Blunt Captain Marvel were all over the place. I mean, there was, I know Boss Logic did. I believe he did some art, some Photoshop art of it. He does just about everybody and all the rumors and everything, so it's hard to remember what all he's done. But the big one that people are clamoring for them to join, is for the eventual reboot of the Fantastic Four. Now, when asked about it, Krasinski had this to say. Quote, "Oh yeah, the Fantastic Four, I would love that. I mean, listen, I'm still getting into the whole superhero thing. I didn't read comics as a kid, not as many. I read some, but not as much, but I am a huge superhero fan, so yeah, I'd love to do something like that. If there are any left, a lot of these have been taken, but the ones that are left, yeah, I would love to do something like that. And listen, I'd love to work with her, his wife, again, so any chance I got would be great." So, you've got the possibility of John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic and Emily Blunt as his wife, Sue Storm. Honestly, with their history of being up for roles in the MCU, and like I said in the case of Blunt a couple times, the outspoken fandom and the actors actually being interested in the project, I gotta call it right now, I think that this one's gonna happen. Unless Marvel already has plans, which they very well might. I mean, this is almost a slam dunk idea. You've got 2 actors that are fairly excited about it, especially Krasinski, who flat out said, I would love to do it, and he would love to work with his wife again. This would get them working together again because, well, at least I hope they would kind of skip the courting process and they would just make them married already in the movies. You've got a couple that are together, that are in movies together, for characters that are married. I have no problem with this. And I honestly think this one's going to happen. I feel it in my gut that this one very well could happen. Now, I'm not going to try to cast Johnny Storm or The Thing or Doctor Doom or anything like that, but I really think that them two playing those 2 characters could happen. All right, let's get off of Marvel for a bit. Talked a little DC at the beginning. We almost kind of had a bit of a DC sandwich in this program. I want to talk about the battle of what's better. I mean, it's not really much of a battle, but DC live action versus DC animated. Now, as we all know, the DCMU or DCEU or whatever they're calling it, the DC movie universe, there's no real official name for it that I know of anyway. It's a mixed bag at best, right? And I know everyone wants to be Marvel. Marvel, they're on their 10th year of world building, as we've talked about. They've been doing this for 10 years. And they've earned it. They've taken their time and they've earned it. Now, DC and Warner Brothers, and of course many other studios, want what Marvel has, and they want it right now. You know, DC, after the Nolan stuff, you know, at least the first two, I couldn't stand Dark Knight Rises. I mean, I like bits and pieces of it, but the movie as a whole, I couldn't stand. They've had a lot of rushed movies. You know, Green Lantern, of course, was a false start to their somewhat planned. You know, I think they wanted to use, at least from what I understand, they wanted to use Green Lantern to kind of launch their own little shared universe thing. But of course, Green Lantern was not good. Then of course there was Man of Steel. They might have had a plan with that, but it was nixed for the DC universe rushed Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. And then, you know, that movie, of course, you know, I like bits and pieces of it too, but it was a mess. Suicide Squad, you know, it's kind of a messy movie. I was fairly entertained by it, but I haven't been able to watch it since I saw it in the theater. I think I watched the extended cut because I was just curious. Thought maybe there'd be some more Joker in it, and I think there was a little. Then you got Wonder Woman, which of course was the first really good movie in this new DC movie universe. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of The Last Battle, but the movie as a whole was really good. And then Justice League is a mixed bag. I mean, there was things I liked, and I thought it was a sloppy movie, and it felt forced. But you know, you had a great Flash, and you know, there was a lot to like, but it was still, you know, we want to be caught up, and we want to be caught up to Marvel right now. And the problem with their live action stuff is the official movie release schedule always seems to be up in the air. I mean, we know these ones are happening. These movies are happening because they're filming right now. Aquaman with Jason Momoa, it's the next one to come out. It comes out, what is it, November, December this year? Somewhere around there. We know Shazam is coming out because Zachary Levi's been filming that. And we've seen bits and pieces are, you know, shot here and there, the back of the costume. The Flash is supposed to be happening. We'll talk a little bit about that in the quick hits. Very, very little bit in the quick hits. But their quote-unquote version of Flashpoint, whether or not it's going to be Flashpoint anymore, is supposed to happen. Of course, Wonder Woman 2 is probably going to happen. It's pretty much guaranteed as well as the first one did. Then there's a mixture of others that have been named over time. And are you ready for all these? I'm going to name all these that they've either talked about, said were coming out, canceled. I'm not going to talk about which ones were which, but here is all the different ones that they've talked about coming out and have had or talked about maybe adding to their schedule. Cyborg, Green Lantern Corps, Justice League Dark, a new Batman movie with or without Batfleck, Justice League 2, Man of Steel sequel, Booster Gold Blue Beetle team-up movie, Suicide Squad 2, Lobo, Birds of Prey, Gotham City Sirens, a Harley Quinn movie, a Harley Joker movie, a Joker origin movie, Deadshot movie, Black Adam, which is supposed to star The Rock, Nightwing, Batgirl, which actually seems to be moving forward, Deathstroke, New Gods, which is supposed to be directed by A Wrinkle in Time director Ava DuVernay, and I'm sure there are others, but just naming all those makes me tired. Again, the problem is that they want what Marvel has earned over a decade. Look, Marvel has DC's number in the live-action movie department, and there's nothing that DC can do to change that. Now, that got me thinking, where does DC have Marvel's number? The home video animated movie department. Look, the Marvel animated movies that they've released on DVD are mostly bad to okay, with some being fairly good. The Hulk vs. Wolverine half of the Hulk vs. DVD was pretty good. Avengers Confidential, Black Widow and Punisher, the anime was actually really good, especially if you're a fan of the Punisher. And though I don't know if I really count this because it's more of a Disney movie, but it is based on a Marvel comic, Big Hero 6. That's a great one. And of course, I'm really looking forward to the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And I know it's a Sony thing, but I mean, it's still a Marvel cartoon. But I mean, the movies they did with Lionsgate, the Avengers ones were okay. I didn't really like the Doctor Strange one. I didn't really like the Iron Man one. Some of them were okay here and there, but it just, what it was at the next Avengers or whatever it was, that was the kids. That one was okay. I really like what they did with Iron Man in that. But was it a great movie? Not really. See, DC, though, they have a track record from being great from the start. I mean, this is the first one that comes to mind, and it's like the first one they did. Building off the success of Batman the Animated Series, they did Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I mean, that one got released in theaters. I wish it would have done better, because then they would have done more in theaters. But it really had no advertising, and I didn't even really know about it that much back then. You've also got Sub-Zero, which was the really good Mr. Freeze Batman story that, of course, put Batman and Robin, the live-action movie, to shame. You have the incredible Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, with one of my favorite performances with Mark Hamill as the Joker. Of course, Kevin Conroy voices Bruce Wayne, and it's fantastic. And you get to see technically kind of how the animated series ended. You got to see how the Joker died, things like that. It was pretty good. And you had two different versions. You had the censored version and the uncut version, and both of them are good. Teen Titans Trouble in Tokyo is pretty entertaining. Justice League The New Frontier is a little different, but I enjoyed it. And that's just a few. As of right now, they continue to mostly put out good to great animated movies. In the last few years, Batman Year One, The Dark Knight Returns, both parts together are fantastic. And one of my favorites the last couple years, The Flashpoint Paradox. I mean, that one is insanely good. I named it my favorite animated movie that year because I was that impressed. And I'm not saying they're all great. I mean, I enjoyed The Killing Joke, each half of it. As a whole, it was pretty bad. And then don't get me started on Batman and Harley Quinn. That was an insult and a nut punch to my love of Batman the Animated Series. So they're not all great, but they're mostly great. Now, they even have this new shared animated universe going. Even at its worst, it's been better than pretty much all their live action movies. Your Justice League War and the different Batman ones they've done are all really good. I'm still getting used to the new Batman. I mean, because nobody's Kevin Conroy, but the movies themselves, the stories I've enjoyed. They're at least fun. They're not like great, but I've enjoyed every single one of them. It makes me wonder why, not really, why DC won't go this route instead of live action one. Because of course, again, they want what Marvel's got. They want what Marvel has earned. It also probably comes down to money as well. People will see both kinds of mediums. The either rent or buy the animated ones they release straight to DVD. And then, of course, they want to see the live action stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to see live action stuff too. But if they're not going to put the real effort to take time and build it, because it's all ego, right? It's all about ego, because if they take the time and world build over 10 years, people will be like, well, you're just copying Marvel. And instead of saying, so the hell what? We just wanted to do something great. They go, oh crap, people are going to think we're copying Marvel. So we better just get everything out there right now and get caught up right now. Because I remember seeing an interview. I remember who they were talking to, someone from Warner Brothers, and they were like, we're not doing what Marvel's doing. We're doing something different. Yeah, you're rushing it. you're rushing the whole thing, and and the product is suffering. I mean, artistically, putting all of their might behind the animated movies and making them theatrical releases, if they put the effort that they put in to some of them animated home movies and made them feature length, about 2 hours, they would be fantastic. You put more money into them, put even better animation, because the animation they use right now for this new shared universe is really good. It looks like a lot of the new 52 stuff. And it's really good. It took them a while to figure out who all their voice cast was going to be. I mean, you've had couple of different people play Superman. You've had a couple of different people play Green Lantern and stuff. But they're starting to settle in on their voices and everything. And they're going to go from there. You had movies like Justice League Dark. That was fantastic. They've all been good. And this last one that came out, The Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, it's a good movie. It's a little sloppy, but it's a good movie. But it ties into one of the past movies with one of the villains. I'm not going to spoil it because that's too much fun. But it wouldn't be fun for you, to hear who it was. But it tied into one of my favorite animated DC movies, and I didn't even think that could happen, and it did. And it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. They kind of bring something from the past, and plus they're delving a lot into R-rated territory. This Hell to Pay is R-rated. In my review that I'm going to be recording after I record this, I talk about how they need to figure out what R-rated really means. I mean, some things are getting it right, and some things are just be like, we're doing this because it's edgy, but they'll find their balance. The fact that they're actually taking the chance of making R-rated cartoons, is a big step, because a lot of people want to see like an R-rated Batman. And this Hell to Pay, though Batman's not in it, I mean, you've got, R-rated Deadshot and R-rated Harley Quinn and, Vandal Savage and, Captain Boomerang and a few others. And it works. They need to, I want to see what they're going to do next. The next movie, they're supposed to be trying to do another version of, they're doing the Death of Superman and then the Return of Superman in two different parts. And the next two movies they're doing. And they already did Superman Doomsday, and it wasn't great. It was okay, but it wasn't great. It just kind of rushed the whole story. Now they're taking the time, and in this new 52, they're taking elements from the Death of Superman and the Return of Superman and adding it into this new universe. And I'm really interested in to see what happens. I'm more interested in to see what happens there than I am in the live DC universe. I'm curious about Aquaman and Flashpoint and all that stuff. But I'm more interested in to see how they handle and update a story from comics that I bought when they were new years and years ago. And plus, DC Animated is also doing adaptations of some of their older books, and granted, they're changing a lot of stuff. Like I said, a lot of people ripped on the Killing Joke, and they did Gotham by Gaslight, which they changed a ton of it, but what they did I thought was better than the comic. I'm looking forward to seeing if they'll ever take the chance and do a 2-part Jim Lee animated style Hush, which is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Batman story. There's a lot of possibilities, and again, I know they want to create this live action universe, but I just have this feeling that if they would just take the chance on doing, animation instead, people would dig it. But, it's never going to happen because, again, they've got money coming in for doing the stuff for home, and then they've got more money coming in for the live action stuff. And I just have this feeling that it all comes down to money, and that's unfortunate because, DC's track record in animation is infinitely better than most of the live action movies they've done. That's going to be all for the big stories. Now on to quick hits. And there's a lot of them today. First, we're going to stay with DC here for a bit. The Batgirl movie seems to be moving forward as Shut-In, Unforgettable, and Bumblebee writer Christina Hodson has taken over for Joss Whedon. She is also reportedly helping with the possible Birds of Prey project as well. Sticking with DC, Jake Gyllenhaal has come out and flat out said that he is not playing Batman in the Matt Reeves Batman movie. He said, quote, listen to this, wow, that's a very difficult question. The answer to that question is no. Okay, if that's a difficult question, then why the short answer? Look, I'm going to make my dream guess here. No, he's not playing Batman. He's going to play Nightwing. There are reports, we're going to stick with DC again. There are reports that the Flash movie may not be Flashpoint anymore. Warner Brothers, don't you dare take away my Jeffrey Dean Morgan Batman. Don't you dare. Moving on from DC, finally. Daniel Craig has confirmed that Bond 25 will be his next project, so the next movie in the franchise could be coming sooner than later. He said that he wants to go out on a high note, which is good, because Spectre was pretty far from a high note. I'm glad that going out in style, and I'm certain a pretty hefty paycheck, was more appealing than, quote, slashing his wrists. His words, not mine. Have you seen the trailer for The Meg? It's Jason Statham versus a giant freaking shark. The shark doesn't stand a chance. Speaking of Statham, it has been announced that John Wick, Deadpool 2, and Atomic Blonde director David Leitch will be directing the Rock, Jason Statham Fast and Furious spin-off movie. I didn't think I could have gotten more excited for that movie, but I was wrong. Speaking of David Leitch, hopefully, Charlize Theron has confirmed that an Atomic Blonde sequel is in the works, but didn't offer up any more information, not even if Leitch was returning to direct. Either way, it's a great time to be an action movie fan, isn't it? Apparently, there was going to be an arcade game of The Last Starfighter made by Atari to be released. But the long story short, it didn't happen, of course, which makes me sad because I never got my opportunity to break the high score and to defend the Galaxy versus the Kodan Armada. Den of Thieves 2 is definitely moving forward, and it seems the characters that survived the first one will be returning as well. Of course, since there was no Heat 2, it makes me wonder what movie's plot they'll have to steal this time around. Terminator 6's release date has been pushed back by 4 months, which will give it a November 2019 release date. Look, well, I want to give this movie a chance. I really do. Can't we just terminate the whole thing already? Deadpool actor TJ Miller has been arrested for calling in a bomb threat on a train in early March. Between this, his alleged sex assault, his alleged assault on an Uber driver, and allegations of sexual assault from his past, his future doesn't seem so bright. In the case of a possible Deadpool 3, at least recasting the character of Weasel would probably make for some fantastic fourth wall breaking jokes. Donnie Yen has been cast in Disney's live action version of Mulan as Commander Tung. This really is no surprise given his multiple scene-stealing performances in Rogue One. Warner Brothers' Brett Ratner has been dumped. It's about time. MoviePass bought MoviePhone and has plans to turn it into their own version of Rotten Tomatoes. Hey, MoviePass, I know this guy, this critic, that would love to take part in this venture. Have you seen the trailer for Melissa McCarthy's new movie, Can You Ever Forgive Me? Can we just get this Melissa McCarthy from now on so I can finally forgive her? In a bit of It 2 casting news, Jessica Chastain has now been confirmed to be playing the adult version of Beverly Marsh, which is great news. In other It 2 possible casting news, both James McAvoy and Bill Hader are in talks to play Bill Denborough and Richie Tozier, respectively. This seems to be going pretty well so far. So, there's a script. HBO has received a tax credit, and a lot of the former cast is hopeful. The Deadwood movie could actually be happening. Something the wise Al Swearingen said kind of applies to the news that the movie could be happening. Well, not likely, but my prospects have just improved. And lastly, in quick hits, legendary video gamer Billy Mitchell, who is mostly known as the villain in The King of Kong, has been proven a liar, stripped of all of his high scores, and banned from competitive gaming. I have two thoughts on this, and if you've seen The King of Kong, you'll understand this first one. What does Mr. Awesome think about this? Just watch The King of Kong, because it seems he's been right the whole time. And two, when can I expect my King of Kong sequel to come out? It's going to be all for quick hits. Now we're going to do a little bit of a channel update. I've been trying a new way to do movie reviews. As I mentioned when I was talking about A Quiet Place, I'm trying to do some more unscripted stuff called Talking Movies, where whatever movies I have in my arsenal that I've seen and I've got a few notes on, I'm just going to talk about them. I'm kind of tired of doing a lot of scripted stuff, trying to be funny all the time. You know, I just want to talk. And of course, I've mentioned before about my uncomfortableness in front of cameras. So for right now, I'm just going to take a little time and, you know, I'm just going to try to make a few notes, see the movies, make a few notes, talk about it. You know, I want to feel more like me than not me from a page, if you know what I'm saying. Also for the channel, Geno's Bad at Games should be returning this weekend. Maybe even before you hear his podcast, depending on what I get filmed and what uploads and what time and all that stuff. But I'm going to be getting ready for, I'll drop a hint. I'm going to be getting ready for the Avengers movie. I'll just say that. I got a game or two, or maybe even 3 that I want to try to play to get ready for the Avengers that's coming out soon. As I mentioned before, last week, I hit the 4,000 hours mark. And have applied for reevaluation. Still waiting to hear from YouTube about that. They said it probably wouldn't be until the end of April before I hear anything about it. So, you know, got about half a month left or so before I may or may not hear something from them. You know, no matter what, as I've said before, you know, thank you for helping me to even have the possibility to, to beat them, I guess is the best way to put it. So even if they don't welcome me back, even if they say, well, even though you hit things, I don't think we're going to let you back. You know, it don't matter. I can say that I did it. And I want to put a bit of a challenge out there. You know, if you see a channel out there that is under 1,000 subscribers, give it a chance. I'm not saying you have to subscribe to it. I don't expect people, you know, I'd like it when people subscribe to me if they like my stuff. But if they don't, if you don't like something, I mean, I understand. I'm not going to say, you know, just subscribe to it. I wish it were that easy. And not everyone's going to like everything. But if you check out just check out something that's under 1,000 subscribers. And if you like it, subscribe to it. You know, help the smaller YouTuber out. Like I said, like I've always said, some are doing it for fun. Some are doing it because they have dreams. You know, people are doing this for a lot of different reasons. But, you know, just give the little guy a shot. I mean, and look, I watch bigger channels too. And, you know, but I still try to check out little channels here and there. And I've subscribed to some and haven't subscribed to others, you know. I'm happy for those that want to subscribe to me. But look, if you don't like my stuff, I understand if you unsubscribe. You know what I mean? I get it. And it's no hard feelings. I want people that want to listen and want to watch to be here. You know, if you don't like it, it's okay. You know, I'm cool with that too. I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you like it, I'm glad you're here. And if you don't like it, I'm okay with that too. Because, I mean, at least you gave it a shot. You know what I mean? So again, thank you so much for helping me hit that mark. And those that have subscribed, I hope you like what you see and what you hear on this channel. I also want to draw your attention to some other things, as we've talked about at the end of a lot of my Get on the Mics. The Geek Be Cubed YouTube channel, where you can find the GB3 bi-weekly podcast. We just a couple weeks ago did a before and after Ready Player One tag team review. And the last program we did that came out this week that you can find on the Geek Be Cubed YouTube channel we talked on the GB3 podcast. We talked about Bill Cosby. It starts a little dark. We talked about Bill Cosby, and then we talked about Cheech and Chong a little bit, and then we talked about guilty pleasures when it comes to movies, TV, music, and games. So if you want to check that out, make sure to go to the Geek BQ YouTube channel. Also, my partner in crime from that channel, Heisenerd, I asked that you give his channel a chance. Heisenerd, it's Heisenerd. He does gaming live streams and Let's Plays. He also does a weekly podcast called Heisenerd Speaks. Also, Bill and I on his channel did a live stream playthrough of Dungeons & Dragons Tower of Doom a week or so ago. And like I said, if you want to see that, go to his channel, Heisenerd, Heisenerd. If you want to check out that playthrough, we had a lot of fun playing through the whole game, and we hadn't got to play a game together in a long time, so it was a lot of fun to get to do that with him. Also, I want to draw your attention again to the DNA Digital Network. So now not only you'll be able to find this podcast, but you'll be able to find all of our podcasts on the DNA Digital Network. So now you'll not only be able to find all three of them on YouTube, you'll be able to find Get on the Mic, the GB3 podcast, and Heisenerd Speaks on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and other places that podcasts are available. Now you can listen to these programs on your favorite audio device. For more details, make sure to check out DNADigitalNetwork.com. As always, I want to thank you guys for the continued support, continue to listen to this program. I've done 23 of these. It's just something I started on a whim, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. It's a lot of prep work every week, and just after I finish one, I'm like, man, I got to start preparing for the next one. But it's a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy this program. I enjoy just sitting behind this mic and talking to you guys. So again, thank you guys for listening and checking out the program. That's going to be all for this week for Get on the Mic. Until next time, I'm the Reel Geno Reynolds. Peace.